This podcast is brought to you by Balancing Act. Teach, coach, mentor, inspire. A collection of candid observations on the challenges facing business leaders today. Balancing Act is authored by Dr. Andrew Temte and is available today on Amazon and other fine bookstores. We had the chance to connect with Michael Tirado, aka During the Collapse. We discussed musical influences, what led to his sound, the origin of this project, the songwriting process, what's coming up next for this musician, and where people can find out more. You can find more conversations, food reviews, live music, and events on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brent.
And this is Lacrosse Local.
Michael Tirado. Was born here in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And how I got into music, so I had started playing like saxophone in grade school, and I don't really necessarily count that, but I was 14 years old, and I remember seeing Joey Jordison, the drummer for Slipknot. I remember seeing him in a music video and also on a live performance on YouTube as well that really intrigued me, so I kind of wanted to become a drummer. But even from there, started picking up other instruments. I ended up playing bass guitar, electric guitar, and then also piano as well. So
you referenced Slipknot in there. What are some of your other musical influences that you kind of take or meld into what you're doing now?
So as far as that goes, you can look at projects and groups like Mogwai is one of them. Slow Meadow is definitely one of them. And then Hammock as well, which they're kind of more on the ambient side. They're still definitely a huge influence. However, there is, as far as like the piano aspect goes, Jurive, which is somebody over in Europe. He creates a lot of piano music, which I kind of influence. He's a huge influence for me as far as that part of music goes.
When I took a listen to it, I instantly kind of went to the bands like Explosions in the Sky, like you stated, Mogwai.
Yep.
So how long have you been writing music?
I've been writing music since, say, around 2018. It started out kind of slow just because I also do the production side of my project as well. So I had to learn, digital audio workshop and everything that comes in with that, with mixing, and then the mastering I don't touch, but mixing, and then everything else that falls within that as well. So, kind of a relatively short period, but.
You talk about the project, which just from, looking at it, it's called During This Collapse. So how did that name, or how did the whole kind of thing come about?
That honestly, this project was underneath a different name, which holds really kind of no relevance. But where During This Collapse comes from, this project is actually mental health based, and I can get into a little bit of that here. But thinking about what would be a good name, and I thought of During This Collapse is really fitting, and how that's fitting is. And what I'm about to tell you, I don't recommend other people doing as far as their writing style goes. However, I will, because I have a background with mental health and substance abuse and everything else, and all of that plays a role into creating what I create. So in other words, I will intentionally put myself into an episode, whether it's a depressive episode, a depersonalization episode, whatever it may be. And I make sure that I don't go too deep into it, because it can be dangerous. It's just, I don't recommend anybody else doing that. But the reason that I do that for my music is because I believe that creating something of honest expression of myself is really the only way to create something. So taking
the kind of the mental health aspects of that, How was COVID for you? I know that's been really difficult for people that are creative, for people that write music, for not being able to get out. How did this, 2020 do for your creativity?
So honestly, COVID had I had recently found out that I need a fine balance between, person to person interaction, whether that's friends or, whoever, and creating music. And I was struggling a really long time since basically the whole year with COVID going on and all that. I had a hard time just like getting to sit down and open up my digital audio workshop and just like create something. And I would just like tell myself over and over, like, okay, today I'm going to sit down. And it just wouldn't happen until like restrictions lifted a little bit and I got vaccinated and so on and so forth. I had got to see some friends and like, spend some time with some people I haven't seen in a while. And I went home and I sat down right away and I just started working on things and it came back to me. So it did have an impact on me for sure.
You kind of referenced this kind of sitting down, letting it all go. How do you go about songwriting then? Is it a process? Is it long and drawn out? Or is it something where it just hits you and you got to lay it down?
Honestly, it's kind of it can be a hit or miss where I may have an idea. Like I'll just be laying down one time at like, I don't know, 1 in the morning and it randomly hit me, or I'll be at work. But the majority of the time, what I create is really emotional based. And like I said, mental health based as well. As far as it being emotional based, you look at genres like ambient music, that type of style, is especially post rock music. There's no strict standard way of writing music when it comes to those types of genres. It's really there's no limitations. There's nothing. I mean, that's why you see songs that are like 12 minutes long. It's all emotional, Rand, and that's kind of what I like to try to follow.
Predominantly, I'd imagine, you're working a lot with, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, but, you're working a lot with your computer. So, I mean, is recording, is it kind of like you're kind of laying it out as you do it, or is it fast and furious, or do you go and work with someone else to put it together, or what's the recording process like?
So the recording process actually, for the most part, I'll say, is done myself as well, which relatively isn't, difficult to do, especially when a lot of it's electronic. But I mean, there is, of course, some acoustics and stuff that will have to be recorded in other places. But a lot of that, like I said, is electronic. So, I mean, and that's also been a process as well. I don't think people really understand how much technical side to creating just a song. There's a lot of technology as far as that goes, but
So for someone who's never heard your music before, is there any particular song that you've been, that would be a good entry point for them?
for an entry point, I mean, because as far as this new release that actually releases on August 15th, I would say, since this new release is kind of a mix of things here and there, either track 3, which is For Her, Wherever She Is, or track 6, Run on Red Line Lights.
Just mentioning the August 15th release, what's next for you? I mean, it's basically that release. Are you gonna play out or?
So I actually am currently, since I'm done with the release, I actually ended up getting done with it earlier than I thought. I am currently going through live production process. So what I mean by that is I am just basically practicing, running through, and making sure that I have everything together so that comes time to play live, that I'm ready and have all my ducks in a row. But I'm also hoping for summer of 2022 going on tour. I mean, I'm hoping for that. It really kind of depends, but I mean, there will probably be another release in between then, which I am more so focusing on the piano side of things, which would be for my next release.
relatively this new sort of project since 2018. It seems like things are starting to move along quickly, talking about the tour and the new album. Where can people find out more, if they want to follow along or, just kind of check in with you on your music?
Spotify would definitely be the place to go. One of the places which all they have to do is just type in During This Collapse and it'll show up. However, you can also go to duringthiscollapse.com, which will bring you to my Bandcamp page as well.
Lacrosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you'd like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at Lacrosse Local. Find out more about us at lacrosselocal.com, and you can subscribe to the Lacrosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We appreciate it.